now tuned in to the Coach V Show.
Welcome to the Coach V Show, your show for personal development with expert insights and interviews to help you, me, and we work to be our best and live our best life. Bringing to you expert insights and interviews so that you can take into consideration what our expert guests and our insights are to help you grind, succeed, and then translate that success into joy, peace, happiness, fulfillment, love, and family time. Here on the Coach V Show on Island City, where the beach meets the streets. Every Motivation Monday. If you have not caught up and tapped into the YouTube channel, please do so and subscribe and like and comment. Let me know what it is that I should be asking my guests and what it is that you would like to see me do and bring on the show. Tonight, I am highly excited to have my boy and my family, Sam Lutui, who is a singer-songwriter with over 20 years of experience as a creative writer and performer in the music industry. His unique way of blending different backgrounds of music and his distinctive gift for arrangements has won him the adoration of fans from all walks of life. In addition to his music career, Sam has worked as a mentor, counselor for youth and for adults for much of his adult life. Coaching football for the local high schools as well as the collegiate level has also been a great tool for his endeavors in human, mental, and emotional services. Sam's own experiences of great tragedy in his own personal life and his experience in overcoming grief and sorrow through therapeutic musical methods have been instrumental in developing his perspective and his counseling processes. He credits his discoveries in musical healing as well as on the football field for overcoming this dark period in his life. Through his journey, Sam has combined his love for music with his passion for the betterment of the human condition to bring forth a sense of peace and love to the wounded soul. I fought for love with melodies as my sense of peace and love to the wounded soul. And he says that in the melodies was his sword. These lyrics from his album, A Thousand Moons, gives you a sense of his journey and understanding that music is the food for love. Island City family and the Coach V Show family, welcome to the show, Brother Sam Lutui. Brother Sam, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Coach V. Thank you for having me.
Man, thank you. Tell us where you're at, and let's just start with your journey and your genesis point. And let us all know there are so many from the Utah, Mesa, and the Las Vegas, Nevada area that is well versed in who Sam is, all of your musical performances, what it is that you do. But for those of us on the Cali side or Hawaii, San Diego, or throughout the world that's listening on the Dash Radio platform, please introduce us to who you are and what you do, brother.
My given name, my birth name, is Samuela Ofakimuri Lutui. And Ofakimuri is a term in Tongan to mimic the sentiments of one's love to a foreign land. Ofa meaning love. Muli means any other land other than your own land, a foreign land. So when I was born, my father was out of the country. And so it really solidified my mom's love for my dad, and they put it as my middle name. So my middle name literally is love.
I love it.
Samuel Ofakimuri Lutui is my name. They call me Sam. Samuela means Samuel, so Sam for short. For some people, they have a hard time saying my name, but my given name is Samuela, and I was born and raised in the Kingdom of Tonga. And my dad got a hold of the American dream and said, "We going." So we coming to America. So we headed to America and landed in Arizona. And so our home here in America is in Arizona. And then after high school, I was able to play football in college. And so I had a scholarship to play football at Rick's College and then on to Southern Utah University in Southern Utah. And this is where I reside right now, here in St. George, Utah, in Southern Utah, which is God's country in my eyes.
Mm.
Beautiful in the backdrop of Zion's National Park. Gorgeous, gorgeous, beautiful area. So St. George, Utah is where I call home for now.
Nice. And so, what is that? What is that like? And this being, I love this because, and I try to book you for this date because it's Mental Awareness Month, right? And it's also Asian Pacific Island Month or Pacifica Month, depending on how it is that you want to define who it is that you are. But let's start with the Pacifica side, coming from Tonga. What are those life lessons that you can offer the Tongan listening audience or the Polynesian listening audience into what you learned growing up in a foreign land? And like me, I really do love these United States of America. And I really feel like in no other place that you could not know the language like me, grow up on free and reduced lunch and work and grind and still be able to experience the American dream. So ofa kemuri, right?
Yep.
And that being your, so let's start there. What are the life lessons of being not from here, but then loving here?
You know, the ability to dream.
Mm,
I think everything starts with the dream, starts with the thought. Is the ability to dream, to be able to be anything that you want to be. Really, and a lot of us at home in the islands, we grew up in paradise, right? And but then paradise is it's to me paradise is something that you appreciate beyond um, description. And so, when you grew up having that, it's just home to us. It's just an ocean. It's just the nature of the land, the people, and it's beautiful. But then all of a sudden, you got a hold of a dream that there's something out there. There's something out there that you can go and search and look and find and discover and find out what it is out there. And so my father put that dream in us, and somebody put that dream in him, you know, that we can travel all the every little part of the island and then find out that there's something out there. And know, our ancestors, that's what they did. They got on the boats, and we're known as the fierce navigators of the world, that we traveled. So, we traveled all the way up here to this land, even
right.
before Columbus. There's evidence that we were here before Columbus. We were out in South America, you know, of the word kumala, which is the yam that, that's so common in Polynesia right now. That came from South America, the South American word kumara,
Right.
you know, that, and so they're wondering, how did I end up in the islands that far away? Because we traveled, because we traveled our land, our ocean, and discovered every little inch of it. And then we dreamt there's more out there. You look at the stars, we look in the skies and say, man, there's something out there. What is it? What's worth risking your life to discover? And so that's, I think, to answer your question, what do I learn from that is learning something that it's worth giving your life for.
Mm,
What would I give my life for? What would I travel to seas for and to discover? And so I think that's what I learned, and that's part of why I end up where I am today.
So I had the opportunity through a family event. Some things happened to you guys leaving from Southern California, and before we get to all of that, this is what I found when I first met you and the fam. That you guys were in Mesa, Arizona, and you guys had a ton of friends. I'm talking about, I just never seen that, like that interaction of Balangi, Mexican, Tongan, Fijian, Samoan. I mean, and your guys' crib was like the hub, right? And you guys were so respected in your community. And then so this whole love aspect and people and relationships, as a young person, I've always remembered that, that basketball hoop in your front yard and having the elders stopping by like nonstop, right? And that you, your sister, and Deuce just had this way about you with people. Where did that come from?
Well, it's just, I grew up, my father was a very caring person, and so was my mother, just to love people, almost to a fault at times.
Mm,
And so, just being open, we're love nature. Our nature is loving, very loving nature that towards all people. It's funny. When my dad passed, he had friends that stopped by that I had no idea who they were, that my dad was friends with. I had no clue, but he was just a friendly guy, just friendly, being friendly, and being open to sharing. We didn't have much, but we shared a lot of it. So
yeah. So
it's
so
just
high school. So high school. Did you go to Mesa High like Deuce did?
yeah. So both me, uh, my my sister Sinia is younger than me. Then my brother Brooke, and then my brother Dusi. We all graduated from Mesa High School. So we were all at Mesa High School,
And
and
what?
we love Mesa. We love our Arizona roots. Even though I'm here in Utah, I still uh, have a big part of me that's in that Sun Devil state with all
Yeah.
that
No.
heat.
No doubt. No doubt. And what are the life lessons from building those great relationships from high school? I mean, because you guys had some young Balangi dudes drinking kava, and I was like junior high school, and I was going, these dudes drink kava. These guys got these dudes drinking kava, and these guys were like 16, 18 years old, and I'm like, what the heck is going on here? So, what
It's
are the
funny
life
that you
lessons
remember
that
that.
you learned, right? Being this Tongan, love everybody, give love, right? And you guys were definitely getting love. What are the life lessons that you could share from your high school, junior high experience?
It's funny that you mentioned that. If you still remember those, I had those close friends from junior high. To this day, I still talk to my buddies from junior high. These two heavy metal guys from junior high. Still talk to them. A lot of my friends from junior high and high school still have relationship with them. And the life lessons that I learned, that um, it's okay to be different. You
Mm,
know, it's okay to be different. I was, at first, when I first came to the school I was in, nobody knew what a Tongan was. You
right,
know,
right, right.
when they asked me like, "What are you?" and I said, "Oh, I'm Tongan," and they're like, "What's the Tongan?" I was like, "Well, this a group of islands in the South Pacific, and all the way out in Polynesia, part of Polynesia," and just explain them all that, and they're like, "No, man, you're just like a big Mexican."
Right,
I
right,
was
right.
like, "All right, I'll take it." But so, but it's okay to be different. And you know what? I was I got to meet so many different people, and it was cool. And that I'm still friends with a lot of them today.
That's
So
amazing, right? because during my first year at Boise State, and I'm talking way back 2003, we're playing La Tech, and I overhear one of the coaches as I'm just making sure my personnel, because I called personnel as a grad assistant at Boise State in 2003, 4, and 5, is I overheard one of the coaches go, "Man, these guys got some of the biggest Puerto Ricans I done ever seen." But which is ironic, right? Because so you're talking about the late 80s, early 90s, yes, Sam? So we could connect
Yeah,
the audience, right? But that was
yeah,
also the time Vi came through Phoenix, right?
that's right.
How did that start to connect some dots for you? And so and to flip the script there is like Tongans are known all over Arizona, right? Especially
Yeah,
in high school sports, high school football, JC football, right? Because your brother's a legend, both at Mesa High and the local community. He went to community college there, yes?
yeah, he did.
Yeah, like he's a legend over there, right? You guys like your guys' last name, but flip now. Back then, nobody knew what Tongans were, but now everybody knows what Tongans were.
Yeah.
And then here comes Vi coming through the NFL, killing it, right? How did that start to manifest some, connecting the dots in your experience there?
Well, my parents, their best friends were Vi's parents.
Right.
And that's my
Wow.
mom's best friend and my dad's, yeah, that's their best friend. And we were close. Well, our families are close. And so they were able to talk to my parents about the experience they've gone through because they've
Mm-hmm.
been here since the 70s and we came in the early 80s from Tonga. And so they kind of mentored us, and Vi was like, as Tongans, we didn't have our superheroes, right? Everybody has Superman, Aquaman,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
Batman. We had Vi,
No doubt. I'm one of them. He was
That's
one of
right.
those for me. Yeah.
And he was a great example to all of us. And he was from the local high school, was right there in our neighborhood, and just and our parents were very close. Vi's mom pretty much was over at our house almost every day, and so we were close growing up, and he was a great example to us of getting an education and using your you know, the attention that you have to help others. And Vi really showed that, when you have a little bit of attention now, you have a community of people that are, listening to every little thing you say, what do you do with it? And I think he's just done a phenomenal job, even to this day,
Yes.
of doing that. So,
Yeah. You'll laugh, Sam. Uh, but a lot of the Utah Tongans, especially, yeah, they'll hear me speak and they go, "Man, you're a phenomenal speaker, but you're still my second favorite Tongan." I'm like, who's your favorite Tongan? By Skyham. I was like, man, hey, he's my favorite Tongan too. That dude's my favorite Tongan. So shout out to Vice Skyham. So those are some of the life lessons that you guys started to connect the dots. How ironic that I just bring that up. I might have heard that story from you before, but I mean, it was just that time, where nobody really knew what Tongans were in the 80s and 90s, where we are now. I mean, some of the top players and the top people in many different industries, but then the Jets were out during that time, right? Killing it in music,
yeah.
right? And then which the industry you're in, and you got your shows going on. But I just find that ironic. So you went to Rick's in Idaho?
Yes, I went to Rick's College in Idaho. And it's funny because I was injured in high school. I had 4 surgeries on my knee.
Ooh.
Uh, and so had a bad knees, and I blew my knee out, a bone structure. I had a bone reconstruction surgery my junior year in high school. So I was out my junior year and out most of my senior year, and played I think one game, the last game of the year.
Mm.
And but I was able to they were recruiting my best friend, Mone Angilao at that time. And so I tagged along. One of my mentors that I'll always be grateful for, he was going to Rick's. He his family was from Arizona, Manasseh Fort. And so he took us on an unofficial recruiting trip. Mone was well known at that time. He was a beast of a football player, and he had all attention from everywhere. He was one of the Gatorade Player of the Year in Arizona, and just a great athlete. And so I tagged along, and Manasseh was talking about me, to the head coaches at Ricks and Gary Anderson, who was the O-line coach at the time. Gary Anderson.
Yeah.
And so Gary took a look at me, and at that time, some of his O-linemen would get together and play basketball during the day over at the gym. So he said, "Hey, some of the guys are playing basketball. You like to play basketball?" I go, "Yeah, go down and play." I didn't realize that he was kind of eyeing me out on what my footwork would look like. But anyway, we never had this conversation. But after I went and played, and I looked up and I seen Coach Anderson up in the gym, up in the stands, and I got a call later on that night, and he had offered me a full-ride scholarship along with the head coach. And the head coach probably, I talked to him years later, and I go, "Why did you take a chance on me? Not seeing any film on me, not anything like that." And he said, his words were, "I had a feeling," and then Coach Anderson said, "I'm assuming that from his side was watching me play. I'm no great basketball player or anything like that, but I had really good feet. I had great feet, quick feet, and I'm assuming that's where he wanted to take a chance on was on that because of the invitation to go play basketball. So I had a full ride scholarship throughout my college career to play football, and played one game in high school.
Wow.
Varsity.
And you're talking about the Coach Anderson for the listening audience, right? We're talking about the Coach Anderson that was at Utah State during my time at Boise. He was the head coach at Oregon State, and he's also the former head coach in the Big Ten with Wisconsin, correct?
Wisconsin, yeah, correct.
Yeah.
He was just a young coach at the time, and he took a chance on me, and I will always be grateful for him and my head coach, Coach Ron Hahn, for taking a chance on this kid from Arizona. He really had nothing going for himself, during that time in high school in regards to athletics. And I, went to college and studied college, and I was able to get another scholarship from Rick's College to go to Southern Utah University.
That's awesome. What a story. So what is that life lesson? What is the life lesson that you have from being injured? I wrote down 4 injuries, right? And you played one high school football game, and then you got it at Rick's. So I believe Rick's is that Rexburg or is it Idaho Falls?
Rexburg, Idaho.
Rexburg, Idaho.
And,
I love that country.
Yeah.
I love that area. So
Yes.
during the pandemic,
they're a powerhouse junior college football.
Yep.
That time, Rick's College was a powerhouse, and they fed into BYU, and they average about signing about 20 to 22 guys every year to a D1 program, and they had a great program, and I was able to part of that the great legacy out there at Rick's College. And it was to this day, sometimes I wonder, but to answer your question, what life lesson did I learn? I learned that no matter how dark it is, like no matter how dark the night is, the sun is going to come out eventually. Even though the night is dark and it's lonely and it's cold, the sun will come out. The sun will come out.
Yeah.
And they'll come out eventually. So
I love that. So then you get a Scully. So you were injured throughout, and then the sun came out. You got an opportunity, and the sun shined on you on a basketball game, a pickup basketball game, where you get picked up and played at Rick's, and then you get a full scholarship to go to Southern Utah, right? And then so talk to us through
Yeah.
Southern Utah. What position you played? Who did you play for? How was your experience there at Southern Utah?
So from Rick's College, I actually committed to University of Buffalo,
Hmm.
and and at that time when I was doing my research, out of all the schools that had offered me, I had I think 5 offers. Most of them were all D1 FCS schools,
Hmm.
AA. And so, but when I did my research on my major, Southern Utah University jumped up to the top, and and that's why I chose. So I ended up decommitting from the University of Buffalo uh, down to and ended up coming to Southern Utah University.
And what major did they have? And that's some adult decision now, because I think they play at the Mount the Mid America Conference. Is that what Buffalo plays in?
No, they're in the Big Sky.
Yeah, Buffalo or Southern
Oh,
Utah.
Buffalo. Sorry, yeah, Buffalo. Yeah, Buffalo was in the. That's right. But
Yep.
yeah, Southern Utah was in the Big Sky now, or actually they just moved to the WAC. But
Yep.
at that time, they were, I forgot the conference that we were in. But
Yep. But so
yeah, Buffalo was in that.
that's a mature decision to give up a D1 ride and what everybody might think is prestigious. I mean, you would be playing like Bowling Green,
Sure,
Toledo, right?
sure,
You would
right,
be playing some D1
right,
schools. It's not
right.
as big of a conference, but still a D1 school. So what was the
That's right.
major and what level of maturity did it really take you to make? That's an adult decision now. That's a big time decision.
So there's several decisions. One was my major. When I did the research, Southern Utah University was at the top of my major. I was a theater major.
Oh, theater.
And so,
Okay.
yeah. So in Southern Utah University, they jumped up to the top, and they have a great program. To this day, they still have a great program. There's some great talents. They came out of that. One of my classmates during that time in my theater, uh, well, probably the most well-known one is the movie with Hugh Jackman. What's the one about the circus?
Oh yeah, that soundtrack is awesome. That
All
soundtrack
right,
is awesome.
so the girl that played the bearded lady,
Yeah.
uh, so she was, yeah, she's Polynesian. She's part that she was from my class actually, and we, in the theater, we did theater together over there in Southern Utah University, and so they had a great program, and that's so. What jumped at me was what they have done with their students as far as going beyond school, and and the location was closer to my parents, that they could watch my games and be closer to home instead of going all the way back east. So that was part of the decision, but mainly it was because of my major.
Yeah, talk through that real quick in terms of a life lesson for both of us that have been in the collegiate football game, because it does matter, right? Because if you're in Arizona and so you decide to play local, then that means your parents can come watch you at your home games. But if you say you go to Wisconsin and you're from Arizona, every game is an away game,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
So a lot of people don't really understand or realize that don't have kids or never played college football and going, why did they choose to do that? Right? Can you talk through that process and how important that was for you? Because for us, family's everything. And please also introduce us to who your parents are.
First, I'm the son of Inoke and Mary Lutui,
Hmm.
and both from the islands of Ha'apai and Tonga. My father from Ha'ano, and my mother from Lotofoa, Ha'awhewa. And he, I'm the oldest boy, and it was close to um, making that decision is important because, I never dreamed of, where I had no clue how I was going to get to college. My parents couldn't afford it,
right.
just had no, I mean, it was, like to even be offered a scholarship and be paid for it was just something amazing. To this day, I'm just still baffled of the roads that, they got me to where I am today. And it just, I'm amazed, but I really wanted my parents to, I wanted to stay close, after that decision. And that decision had to do a lot more with, that the tragedy that you talked about on the little introduction there.
Mm-hmm.
And so wanting to be close to mom and dad, and because health was an issue at that time, and so that played some part in that as well. But my parents was like, they didn't care. They was like, go as far as you can
Yeah,
go.
right.
If you and they were all said, I remember going home that winter and saying, I'm going to New York. I got a scholarship. It's like, I get to go to college again, but I'm going to New York. And so they were excited about that. And, I even mentioned the factor of wanting to be home close to them.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, go. Don't make us a factor in your decision, because we will be fine. Go as far as you need to go. So that played but it played a part in it. So
Yeah, no
for
doubt.
sure.
So I played at a small Division II non-scholarship school, UC Davis. It's renowned for Division II football, but to me, just look, and our stadium, Sam, only held like 6,200, not 1,000, 6,200 people. So like a high school stadium, but it really meant everything to me to look up into the section where my parents were at, and just to see them there, right? And to see them watch me play. And so that was huge for me, because I had an opportunity, not like you. I had no Division I offers and all that, but I had some opportunities to go to New Mexico or Texas. Like, man, I'm from Cali. I'm a Tongan boy. What am I going to do in Texas? And now Texas got like Trinity High School, and Tongan players are known all over, down with the old SWC conference and all that. But man, that was everything to me. So you played. How was the college experience for you? Your college football experience?
My college experience was it was great. I loved it. I loved college. I loved being independent. I loved figuring out things. And I loved learning and growing. I was still new to football when I got to college. It wasn't like when I was in high school. I still didn't know the game.
Yeah.
And then he wasn't. And Coach Anderson, Coach Anderson was really the one that really taught me the game. I played offensive guard, but my freshman year I played tackle. So he put me in. Coach Anderson put me in the blind side, and then after my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, I played guard. So
now Coach Anderson came over from Rick's and was with you at SUU?
No. So Coach Anderson, he actually went to a rival of us. He went to NAU or Idaho State. I don't remember.
Okay, I got you.
After college. So I got to play. He coached against me when I played at Southern Utah University. Yeah, he was at NAU.
NAU.
Yeah.
And
but he was great. I learned the game, but he taught me the game. So.
No, I love Gary. I've met him only a few times, just crossing paths with Kalani back in the day when I used to be in football. But man, I like that dude a lot. And then so did you graduate? Tell us the college football experience. You graduated, got your degree, played football. How did that all go?
Yeah, so I like I said, I loved my college experience with my degrees in so theater arts So I was like one of the main reasons that I studied theater was there was an emphasis in writing and directing.
Mm,
Uh, and so I did the research, and Southern Utah University was very big because they were right in the back door of the Utah Shakespeare Festival. And so they had a lot of a great uh, way of dealing with the students and what happens afterwards,
yep.
moving forward. And so when I decided my major, I wasn't sure of how I was going to go. So I went to my theater, one of the theater guys at Rick's College, and I asked him his opinion. And he said, with your looks and your type, you might not get too many roles. So I would suggest going a different route. And of course, I went, in my mind at the time, well, if there's not many roles out there with a person like me, why don't I write, uh, the materials with people like me in it? And
Yeah.
so I went in that route, and it just felt right. And there's so many aspects to theater. Like in theater, you have to learn how the sound design.
Yep.
And so you got to learn the lighting design and learn how to design costumes and clothing. So I can design clothes, I can design sound and lighting, designing a stage, which means you got to learn how to be an architect and draw blueprints and all that. So I learned how to do so many different aspects of theater that was so appealing to me that I went that route and learned so many different things, and you know, so and I loved it. I loved that experience. I got to be an actor and a writer and a director, and still doing that to this day.
Yeah. So now, so did anything else from your college experience that you brought to today? Anything else?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's the we talked about um, mental health, you
Yeah.
know, and I mean, mental health is a huge, huge part of life. And so I was able to use some of those dynamics of being uh, using the arts, especially with music. And I grew up with music. Music was a huge part of my life, my family's life, and it really helped me. It really saved my life throughout college because you know. And we're gonna jump back, and I'm assuming we're gonna jump back and talk about the tragedy that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of it has to do with those dynamics of what happened and using all those how to survive mental health and just survive life in general.
I love that. So just jump into it. Your ability to help others, coach, teach, train, help people cope with their grief, with the mental struggles, and the just the overall challenges of today's society that creates this stress within us. What is that? We've come to the part of the segment of this show where Sam is just going to share with us his message to the world, what he's doing currently, those two things. So, in that, Sam, what are you doing currently, both in your music, in your therapy, in your consulting, in your speaking? Please catch up the audience and/or let us know what it is that you got going on.
So I work with mental health people that with depression and anxiety, and when we're talking about my high school experience, right after I signed that scholarship with Rick's College, immediately a week after, we went to California. We had a family event in California, and on our way back, my dad was driving, and he was tired, and he said, "Son, I'm gonna need you to drive. I gotta close my eyes." So I we switched seats, and I was driving, and he was in the front seat, and my mother was in the back, and there was 5 of us kids. There was me, my sister Nia, my brother Brooke, my brother Dusi, and my little sister Diana. And Diana was 5 years old. So we're driving. Everybody fell asleep, and I'm still driving. I'm 17 years old, my senior year. I'm a week away from signing, or a week into after just signing a scholarship to play football. I'm top of the world. I feel grateful, and and so we're driving back to Arizona from California, from LA. And somewhere in between the roads, about 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning, while I was driving, I fell asleep. And I fell asleep on the wheel, and it rolled the vehicle that we were in, the minivan. And he threw my parents out, threw my brother Brooke out, and threw out my little sister, my younger sister, Diana. Diana was killed immediately. And Brooke and my parents were in a real bad situation that later, when we were in hospital, the doctor said, you might have 3 more funerals. I hate to say this to you. And so, man, I'm 17 years old, and this is, I'm like, I just wanted to die right there and then. And oh man, it was like it was like the Twilight, the movie Twilight Zone, that show. You just walking into the. Oh man, it felt like that's what it felt like. I walked into a whole different world, and just like that, I'm somebody that is responsible for the death of another human being, let alone my little sister. So my parents recovered, my brother Brooke recovered, and then it was time to live life, right? So how do you live life after something like that as a 17-year-old? And I just wanted the pain to be numb. I just wanted to numb the pain, numb everything. And I had made it up in my mind that that I'm not gonna go to college. I'm gonna stay home and take care of my family. And so I had made that plan. I was talking to my parents like, I'm gonna work, take care of the family, and and my dad had, as he recovered, both of my parents, when they recovered, they said, no, that's not even we're not going to accept that. You go and you take care of you, and take care of that, get that scholarship and go to college. And you stay here, we're all going to die. We're all not make it. And I had it in my mind, and they literally almost forced me to go because I didn't want to go to college anymore.
Right.
I felt so guilty with what happened, because that it wasn't in my hands, that I just wanted to absorb whatever pain there was that was coming my way. And if it was the pain of just working and taking care of the family, then so be it. And my parents had the sense at that time to be selfless and not think about them and say, go. So I went to college with them back home, still fresh, the injury still fresh. So this happened on March 26, 1990. And I went to Rick's College the first week of August. And so it was just months after that. So it was still fresh, the wounds are still fresh. And I ended up taking their advice and going to college and then figuring out a way to live and survive. And I found it through music. And I wanted the pain to numb. I wanted to numb the pain. And the number one numbing system at that time available still to this day, drugs and alcohol. You know, I am 48 years old. I've yet to touch the two, because I had this thing called music that was getting me higher than anything I could find. And so those dynamics, it helped me live, helped me survive. And it helped me just to confirm to me that you're going to be okay. You're going to be all right. And so, you know, and I held on to it. And it it was my vehicle through this journey. And I'm still in that vehicle. And it's still guiding me. And it's still healing me. And so once I figure out those dynamics, then I go, okay, now it's time to help somebody else that's gone through similar situations to go through this. So I created this curriculum through music that helps with others that are struggling with depression, anxiety, suicide, all that. Because I went through all, that broken feeling, man. It's so fresh and devastating to a lot of people. Then they have nowhere to look, nowhere to search, because nothing feels right. You know what I mean? Nothing seems right. And so they don't know what to do. They have no idea what to do. And so a lot of them is just, okay, let's numb it. Let's just numb it. And let's stay numb and be numb. And so there's no interactions, with loved ones, no relationships, and they're just suffering. And so there's really no living. They're alive, but they're just waiting to be buried.
Mm.
So, yeah.
So in that, what is the first step, right? Because I think from what I read in my research is to isolate ourselves. That's like the first reaction, right, Sam? Is to isolate and not engage and disengage from everything and anyone that is remotely connected to the situation. Is that not right?
That's right.
And then so what should be the first steps? Let's talk a couple steps to help people out there in terms of you gaining your awareness for now, man, because forget the haters, the critics, and the naysayers. Man, our own mind can be the most devastating self-saboteur of everything around us and ourselves from the inside out, right, Sam? Help us, and you just tell me in your own ways, hey, what are the steps to get me out of this if I am going through this?
This stuff is a very difficult thing to go through. Depression is it's a tough thing. Anxiety is tough.
Mm.
And you said it. How do we get out of our own mind?
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is thoughts, a thought process, right? And so what I do when I help people is I would help people to think right and feel right and behave right, because our behavior comes from our feeling, right? Somebody who's angry and sad, they're going to
Mm-hmm.
behave such a way that they're angry and sad. And why is somebody angry and sad? They're angry and sad because they have a belief system that supports their anger and sadness, such as if somebody thinks that they're worthless, a worthless person will tie in an emotion such as sadness, guilty, anger, frustration, all of those things. And that's why they behave a certain way. So you're saying, what's the first step? Is to correct your thinking and get into an accurate way of thinking. Just to
Mm.
think right. You will never think wrong and feel right. Does that make sense? And so
Absolutely.
there's a lot of us just walking around with incorrect thoughts, inaccurate thoughts about ourselves, about others, about our relationships, and
Mm.
we have all these inaccurate thoughts. And so inaccurate thoughts will bring, and we tie in the wrong emotions, improper emotions. And the improper emotions is what make us behave a certain way. And so I try to teach these principles and these thoughts, but I use it through the vehicle of music
Right.
and the dynamics of music. For instance, music, space and time is the dynamic of music. The space between this note and this note is what creates the melody,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so And, when you look at a tiger that's sitting in a cage, what keeps that tiger securely in the cage is really not the cage or the bars, but the space between the bars, right?
Mm.
Because the space between this bar and the space between this bar is what keeps the tiger safe.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have a bar here and a bar there, tigers walk right through it. But the space between the bars, so the nothing between this point and this point, that nothing is what brings power, right?
Say that
We
again,
call it
Sam.
space.
Say that again. The space between this bar and this bar. Say that again. Say how
The,
you said that.
the space between the bars is what keeps the tiger in the cage.
Yes.
It's not the bars. Not this bar. There's a bar here. It's
Yeah,
not the
the
bars that keep the
space.
tiger. It's the space between the bars that keeps the tiger in the space. Keeps the tiger in the cage.
Right.
Space and time, right? So spacing and timing. For instance, if I come home and I look at my wife and I say, "Honey, you're the most beautiful girl in the world. Looking at you is like looking at the ocean for the very first time. If anything were to happen to you, I would crumble."
Yeah.
Right? On paper, those are beautiful words. But imagine what happens when I put spacing and timing in these words. Honey, you're the most beautiful thing in the world.
That's right.
Looking at you is like looking at the ocean for the very first time. If anything were to happen to you, I would crumble, right? So the
Theater
space between
man.
this
Oh
word,
yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Right.
so imagine the way we think, right? If we are full of negative and wrong thoughts, right? You're gonna have negative and wrong emotions. And then you're gonna have negative and wrong behavior.
Mm-hmm.
So to drive those points in, you know, I would use the dynamics such as space and time. It's like a note. This note, boom, boom, right? The
Yep.
note, the space between this note and that note, those notes is not what creates music, but the space between it is what does.
Mm.
So the nothingness between this point and that point is what brings power. So learning to use the proper space in its proper time, it's what helps, how we think, and then we can add on the proper emotions and the proper behavior will come along. So we got to think right. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Have to think right. We have to think right and think correctly, accurately, right? Because there's some of us that's walking around thinking that we're worthless, that we can't do anything, that we're never going to be anybody, that we compare ourselves to so and so, that we're not up to par, and that we're not good looking enough, we're
Mm-hmm.
not tall enough, we're not skinny enough, we don't make enough money. All of those are inaccurate thoughts. And somebody who thinks like that, we're going to have certain emotions. They're going to be angry, they're going to be sad, they're going to be lonely, frustrated, resentment. And then people that have those emotions will always act out in a certain way, and he's used in a negative way.
Man, that is so powerful, Sam. So I teach my success coaching clients a certain success frameworks. So did I get this right? Your framework here for how to start, because I asked for the first step, is think right, feel right. Did I say it? Do right? Is that what it is?
Yes,
And
it
then
starts with the thought,
think right
regardless of
is your
what happened to
belief.
you.
Yes.
Regardless of what happened to you,
Yep.
because what happened to you, it doesn't matter. Like with me, it doesn't matter what happened to me. It doesn't matter that I fell asleep and it rolled a van and it killed my sister. It doesn't matter. What matters is how I thought. And I used to think I was worthless, bro. I used to think that I deserved to die, bro. I used to think that every negative crap in life, I felt like I deserved it.
Yeah.
You know? And it put me into a dark place of where death was inviting. Like if I were to walk into a bank and somebody's holding me up and say, "Give me your money," I'll say, "All right, here's my exit." You know,
Yeah, yeah.
and so I got to the point of where I had to correct my thinking. And one of the best therapy, I never went to a therapy, by the way, to a professional to deal with this issue. But the best therapy I got was from my daughter. She's 5 years old at the time of this incident. And we were driving, and I was looking in the rearview mirror, and I could see her. And, I can tell she's in deep thought. And I looked at her, and, my kids, they've known this incident throughout their whole life about their Aunt Diana, who's moved on to heaven. So they know about what happened. It's I just felt like it was a part of life that they should grow up with, understanding, so they can understand how their father is and all of that stuff. And we're driving, and I can see that she's in deep thought. And she said, "Dad," and I said, "Yeah." She was 5 years old at the time. "Why did you fall asleep?" And I had no idea what she was talking about. I thought she was, and I go, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "Why did you fall asleep?" And I go, uh, "What are you talking about? I mean, last night?" He's like, "No, why did you fall asleep in a car and we had the accident?" And I said,
Mm,
"Oh," I said, "Honey, I didn't want to. I didn't mean to. It was just an accident. I didn't want to." And she goes, "Oh, okay." That was it. Bro, you know what that did for me that day?
hmm.
To be able to just say, it was just an accident. I didn't mean for it to happen. That was like the purest thought that came out of my mouth in regards to the accident. Had I been
Mm.
talking to a normal professional therapist, I would have had to edit my words and
Right,
all, and
right,
try to. But because of my daughter, I knew there was no ridicule or rejection or anything come from her. They were just pure love coming from her. Oh, it did wonders for me, man. It did
right.
wonders for me. And so, you know, but just to think, okay, but it's hard to think right because most of the time we feel wrong, right?
Right,
And so,
right.
and it's hard, but we got to get to it. We got to do it with facts. We can't do it with uh, we can't do it with assumption, or because most of us, we live in this dark place. We all have, you and I, we have these insecurities about ourselves,
Right,
right?
right.
Questions us at times. We question what we do. Like, am I really doing the right thing? Am I really impacting so and so, or even in our relationships? And understanding just to get the correct way of thinking. And for most of us, we think that we're not as good, and that's a wrong way to think. Because if you think like you're not as good, you're gonna feel like you're not as good,
Right.
and then your behavior will be to neglect to do, those little things that you just propel you into a better way, in a regular basis. So
And and it's so counter to really, because even when you're not able to do the thing it is that you want yet in terms of the behavior, you'll never be able to have that behavior or that achievement or perform that way lest you think that way first. Right, right,
that's
Sam.
right.
And so I
That's right.
love this framework. So in that, Sam, um because that was so powerful, and for you to tell your testimony, really. And then, so, rest in peace to your sister. Much love to the family. And then, how much did it really mean to you that even your brothers and sisters and your parents supported you in spite of, right? Because that's got to be huge for the grieving process and for you to forgive yourself, right?
It saved my life, man. They saved my life. They love me. They never judge me. They love me from the very beginning. And my mother, what my mother said to me was impacted me for a long time. She said, "This is a part of our journey, you know, and so accept it, and you know, and so it's a part of our journey. You had to be, you know, because she was like the seating arrangements that night had to be that seating arrangement, and it just happens that you were the driver. So accept that that's a part of the journey. And I, you know, it took me a while to, you know, I was like, but the part of the journey was my choice. You know, that's just like, it's still part of the journey. Just accept it. It's a part of the journey. So we got to accept the part of the journey, man, you know.
Yeah.
And if it happened, it has already happened. We can't do anything about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We can only change the way we think of what happened.
No doubt. And Sam, for those people who might be watching and thinking about giving up, because you mentioned it, you're like, man, I might as well be dead. I wish I was dead, right? So why is it that you're glad? What can you share that you're glad you didn't give up? That you're glad. I mean, you got kids, you got a wife. I mean, how much more of the story by the composer Sam Lutui wasn't even written yet? And,
Oh man,
right? Talk
You know,
to the people that are listening right now that just want to give up.
I'm so glad because I would have made a permanent decision on a temporary state of mind, you know? And so if it was a permanent state of mind, then a permanent decision is inevitable. But because it's a temporary state of mind, don't make any permanent decisions, you know? Make little decisions that, you know, little tiny decisions that'll help you throughout the day. Get up, brush your teeth, take a shower, take a walk, eat something healthy, eat something good, say hello to somebody, take a deep breath, breathe, you know, aspire something good, say something good, think something good, and do something good. You know, my dad used to have a saying, just do something, do something.
Right.
You know?
No doubt. No doubt. And in that, I think Sam and I are both saying, not I think, I know that we're both saying that this is not easy. So I just came back from Hawaii last month. I went on a great visit, and my surfing coach, because out of me, my daughter who's 12, and my son who's 9, after 45 minutes, I was still the only one of us three on our surfing lesson who couldn't surf yet on these little ripple waves, right? And he said, Ikaiko was awesome. He goes, Coach, I know it sounds easier than it is to do it, but that's how it works. Right? Because I kept on looking down, like looking down at my feet is going to help me surf better. Right, Sam? But really, like what you're saying is think right, feel right, and do right. I know it sounds easier than it is to do it, but that's what we have to do. And Sam, turn on your volume, Sam. Turn on your volume.
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yep. So did you get my question, Sam? When I say, I know it's easy for Sam and I to go, hey, think right, feel right, and do right, because we're not the one in the darkness that you're in, talking to yourself, going crazy, can't getting sleep, because usually these are the patterns that come with depression, not getting sleep, not engaging with anyone, right? And I know, like my surf coach told me, I know that it sounds easier than it is to do, but that's what you have to do. Come on, Sam, tell him.
Hey, it is. I mean, and part of, you know, there's a lot of people that are looking for answers, right?
Right.
And when you're looking for answers, for some reason, you know, we're getting to the point of where things are supposed to be easy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so if you're trying to find answers, there's a chance that there's something that you got to do that's going to be difficult.
Yes,
It's going to be
sir.
hard. And so, you know, and you gotta do the difficult stuff. And you know, you gotta do the hard stuff. You have to start somewhere. Have to have a starting point.
Yes,
You
sir.
know, like if you're drawing, you're painting a picture, right? You have to find a starting point, and then you contrast from there of what you want. You know, and so you have to first of all think right. Okay, thinking right meaning that you gotta have the right facts. Things has to be facts. They can't be opinions or assumptions or, you know, well, you know, I'm this, but you know, I do. It has to be facts. You gotta look at it, your thought process, and they have to be facts,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you have issues about yourselves, if you're in a dark place and you think you're I'm, you know, I have a client right now who's dealing with some issue with of divorce, you know, and he's hammered himself to death, right? I said, well, make a list of all these things you're thinking about. Okay, so he makes all these lists that he makes. And I said, okay, which of these are actual facts?
Facts. Yeah. Right. Right.
So he made a list of like 35 things. None of them were facts.
Right.
But then his whole life was based on that list. That makes sense? So
Yeah.
how many in our list that we're going to list about ourselves, how we think about ourselves, how we think about our spouse, our kids, our friends? How many lists are we going to put down that are actually going to be facts?
Right.
Right? And how many is just not true, you know,
Right.
or how they're just what you feel, you know, because a lot of times, like it's human nature, right?
Right.
So if I tell you a story, like a great impactful story that impacted you in a certain way. Now, when you tell that story to somebody else, you're not telling what happened. You're telling them how you felt about the story we just heard, and then you told,
Right.
you know.
Right.
So we never repeat the actual story of how we heard it and how they told it. We always repeat how we felt about the story. Does
How
that
it
make
made us
sense?
feel.
How they
Absolutely.
feel. And so, you know, and so a lot of times we're basing on our thoughts, you know, and feeling on stuff that's very inaccurate information. You know, I remember I, you know, there was a friend of one of our friends in our group that fell off of he went hiking, and he fell about 6 feet and broke his knee. By the time that story was retold the eighth time, he fell off a cliff.
100 feet. He fell 100 feet.
He fell 100 feet, you
Yeah. Yeah.
know.
Right. Right.
And because nobody never really just, you know, because they're like, oh man, you know, he went hiking and he just fell and he broke his knee. And it was, you know, oh my gosh, it was so devastating because he was looking forward to, you know. So when somebody told the story that he heard, I was like, oh man, can you believe what happened? Oh man, it was so, the injury was, you know, so he's telling how devastating he was. And he wasn't about the, you know, of what happened in the injury, is about what happened he's going to be missing out on.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you know what I mean? And
Yes.
so that's the same thing with, you know, with our thought process. You know, we keep retelling our stories, you know, and if it's wrong, we're going to add on 10 feet every time we repeat that story in our head. And by the time
Basically
we're
adding
done,
the lies that
yeah,
create the wrong meaning, that define us the wrong way, right, Sam?
that's right. That's right. And so it's very important to be accurate. You know, it's very important to be accurate. And
I
so
love that.
it's helpful in our relationship, right?
Yes.
Because a lot of times when you have arguments between your spouse or friends or, you know, other people, you know, if you understand that they're thinking a certain way, that whatever's coming out of their mouths may not be what you interpret it to be what's going on, but it
Right.
may be just how they feel,
Right.
right? Based on some inaccurate thoughts. And if you look at it that way, there was, then we become more compassionate, that we become more empathetic. And then we go, okay, they're just going through a tough time right now. Let's just take a deep breath. And then, let's show them that they care most of all. And then we can, scale it down of where emotions out of the way, of where then logic can come in,
Love that.
So
Love that. So, Sam, how can people get a hold of you? Where can they find you? Where can we tap in to see you every single day on Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn? Well, what is that? How do people get a hold of you, and how do we follow you for just to continue learning from you? How can we do that?
I'm at, you can find me on all the social medias at Sam Lutui, at Sam Lutui. That's Sam Lutui in all the social medias. And you can email me at Melody Healing, sam@melodyhealing.com.
Sam@melodyhealing.com. Okay, and lastly, so instead of, we went through all that, and that was so important. We skipped the hot seat, just so we can kind of continue to just break down that framework of think right, feel right, and do right. Shout outs. You got 30 seconds to a minute. Who are some people you want to shout out that have been pivotal and instrumental in you becoming the theater maestro that you are today? Martha and I are very excited that we reconnected, because now with COVID being over, and the trends really look like it's going to be over. When you guys start up your shows, we look forward to coming out to Vegas and out there to St. George to check that out. So what are your shout outs, and who are your shout outs?
Hey, shout outs are always, give thanks to the man upstairs.
Yes,
Would
sir.
always be my, and also, my family, my parents, my mother just passed away last month. My brothers and my sisters and all my family out there, and everybody that's been impactful in my life in every little way. My coaches and teachers were the most influential people in the professional world. Like we mentioned, Coach Hahn and Coach Anderson, and even Coach Robert Anai was my O-line coach as well at Ricks College my second year. And, friends, and just my friends and family that are just been impactful all throughout time. Our ancestors, all of those people that are, of that energy. The energy is such a powerful thing. And imagine if you have powerful, positive energy of what it can do, right?
Right.
Because we've known what the negative energy can do. So we can just, just there's a little bit of part of yourself, just question yourself, not question yourself, but ask yourself, is this real? And don't give in to the negative play. And so, but this shout out to all those is, I have so many people that have impacted my life, friends and family that picked me up when I was down. So all to you.
Yep. And so thank you, Sam, for coming on the show. I look forward to just getting on periodically with you, talking mental health. I think it's so important. And I know with everything opening back up, my foundation, and we're going to collaborate on a couple things for kids. I look forward to doing that now that we're starting to open back up this time next year. And really wishing you all the best. And thank you for coming on the show. So thank you all for tuning in to the Coach V Show. If you have not subscribed on the YouTube channel, please do so. Join me here every Motivation Monday here on the Coach V Show, where iron sharpens iron, together we rise, here empowered by Island City Media Group, where the beach meets the streets. Thank you again to Brother Sam Lutui. You can follow him at SAMLUTUI, Sam Lutui, on all social media channels. And you can also reach him at sam@melody.com. That's correct, right, Sam?
Melodyhealing.com.
Melodyhealing.com. Thank you, Sam. And so thank you everyone out there for listening worldwide. We will see you next Motivation Monday here on the Coach V Show, your show for personal development. And we're not just doing this for just success, right? But for the sake of being our best. In doing so, we realize the best of our abilities and that everything and anything that we dream and work for can be achieved. This is how this success coach, keynote speaker, Hollywood radio show host, and author lives, all about faith and family. Grateful for God's amazing grace. Thank you again to Brother Sam Lutui for coming on the show. Until next time, to all the people out there, one love, mad respect, live it. From Sam and I, peace.
How about it?